Hi friends and welcome to the 20th episode of FinWiz, the Friday's Fire Chats. We are going to continue our discussion on credit cards and we dedicate this episode completely to all our credit card users. I am sure you would have gone through the previous episode where we had discussed about how credit cards evolved and what are the major advantages of using credit cards. So, as we had said, we will be discussing about the demerits of the credit cards in this particular episode. First of all, let me reiterate the point again that credit card is a tool to make the payment and it is not a tool for spending. Okay, so let us understand the purpose of how credit cards came into this world. If I had to probably draw an analogy, I would say credit cards are like the knife. Okay, so typically, let us say if the knife is in the hands of your wife or the mother, when you're going home, you will say that, boss, are we having good biryani today? Are you cooking a fantastically tasty biryani? If the same knife is in the hands of a doctor, you believe that the doctor can save lives. But if the same knife is in the hands of a dacoit or a robber, you will be afraid of what's going to do to my life. So it is not about the knife, it is about in whose hands is this. You understand the point, my dear friends? It is always going to come back on credit cards are okay, but how good am I when I'm using a credit card? Do I have the self discipline in my life to use a credit card properly? So, last week episode we had discussed about the merits of the credit card. So, let's look at what are the demerits of the credit cards. Most often, what happens if it is in the hands of a very indisciplined person, then there is always a temptation to spend. Just because I have a credit limit of a lakh or two, there might be always a wishful thinking, why don't I go and spend? Let me go. If not enjoying life today, when will I enjoy life? So there's always a tendency to go swipe off the credit card in different places, which may lead to a lot of wasteful expenses. I would love to quote one of the very, very famous sayings of Warren Buffett, who said that if you buy things that you don't need today, tomorrow you may land up selling things that you need the most in life. Yes, my dear friend. So we have to be very, very careful about where we are spending money. I am not saying that don't spend money. No, that's not what I am coming to say. Absolutely fine to spend money, but on things that are essentials, that are useful for you in your life. Splurging for the sake of spending might not be a good financial habit. So credit card in the hands of such an indisciplined person might ruin their entire financial life. Also, what would happen? Let's say you swipe your card and at the time of making the payment, you don't make the payment. Yes, there is a grace period. There is a 20-day or a 50-day grace period. At the end of the grace period, you are supposed to make the payment. Lot of times I've seen people get into this mindset that, Araya, next month 5th is the payment due date. So let me spend now on the first, anyhow, my salary will hit the account or my commissions will come immediately. I can make the payment on the 5th. What's there? No problem at all. But if you get into the habit of spending on the future income, remember, we are living on borrowed money if you are swiping the credit card. Credit card is a liability. It is borrowed money. Okay, so if you pay it on time, well and good. But then you might get into the habit of every time that, okay, on the first, as soon as my salary comes, I am making the payment for my credit card. But what would happen beyond 5th? Let us say all your money, whatever you've earned, has gone towards paying off your credit card. My dear friend, what are you going to do beyond the 5th? You'll continue to spend on the card. You will get into this kind of a habit, which will be a very, very vicious cycle. So, my dear friend, be very wary of getting into this kind of a bad spending habit. Let's say on the due date, 5th is a due date, and you don't pay up on time for whatever be the reason, then the credit card companies, the banks would levy penalty. First, they will put a late fee charges, and beyond that, they will also put interest penalty for not making the payment on time. And when they are talking about interest, it is always compound interest. If you have not learned compounding properly in your school days, you will learn it now. When you see the credit card statement, oh my God, you will be in for a big shock of your life how compounding works against you. right? So, my dear friend, the rate of interest most often in the range of about say 2%, 3%. If it is 3%, for a year it will work out to almost 42, 43% annualized interest rate. This can really dent your personal finances very badly. So be very careful about the credit card spending and payment on time. You have to pay the entire amount, 100% amount on time. But let's say, my dear friend, you say that, boss, when I get the statement, it is written over there that minimum amount due. Let's say I have spent 10,000 rupees. Okay. And when I'm getting the statement, here it is written that outstanding is 10,000 rupees. But what is the minimum amount due? They are asking only 5%, 500 rupees. So I am not delaying the payment on the 5th or before the 5th itself. I will make this payment of 500 rupees, which is the minimum amount due as mentioned in my credit card statement. Then what would happen? Late payment fee might not be levied on you, but definitely finance charges are levied on you right from the day that you swiped this 10,000. The interest will be levied on a daily basis. More so, going ahead, let's say you made a payment of only 500 from the day one, let us say on the 15th you spent, from the 15th to this billing date when you have paid the 500 rupees, that is on the 5th of the next month, you will be charged interest on the entire 10,000 rupees. Now that you have made a payment of 500, on the balance 9,500, you will be charged interest for thereafter the next couple of days till you make the balance payment. Let's say you swipe the card after that, another 5,000 rupees for something else. At that point in time, you will not be eligible for the grace period. Whatever the 20-day, 50-day grace period that they give will not be applicable for you because you have not paid the credit card bill entirely. Only if you pay the 100% of the bill, you will be eligible for the grace period. Otherwise, you are not. So, finance charges will continue to be levied on your card. So, be very careful on that. So, a lot of them would say that, sir, in that case, why don't I convert into EMI? Okay, fine. Most of the time when you swipe a card, especially beyond a particular limit, you might even get an automated call from the bank saying that please click 5 to convert this transaction into an EMI, and beautifully you will go ahead and click that. You will get into a trap. You will get into the habit of always buying things on EMI, and EMI will perennially be there in your life like you are breathing in and out, right? So EMI is definitely not going to come free of cost, my dear friend. There are interest charges even on the EMI. It could be low, but still you are paying up with interest. Now, let's say doing all this, what could happen? You're paying late or finance charges. It will definitely put you into a debt trap. Not dead. Eventually, we will be dead. Debt trap, DEBT, debt trap. So you will get stuck in this vicious cycle of debt, and to get out of this debt cycle sometimes takes a lot of courage, efforts, and lots of self-discipline. Loads of self-discipline only can help you get out. So my dear friend, it is better to be disciplined before itself so that you never ever get into this debt trap. And finally, when you do all this, it will affect your CIBIL score heavily. So tomorrow, if you are applying for any loan, be it a personal loan, home loan, or education loan, or whatever be the kind of a loan, because of your improper track record of making payments to credit card, either you have defaulted on your payments or you have not paid it adequately, or overutilizing of your credit limits might severely dent your CIBIL score and will probably not get you good interest rates or good quantum of the money you might need for some essential requirements in life when you are applying for loan. So be very careful. Going back to an analogy of the knife, knife is not a problem. In whose hands is the knife? That is to be critically seen. So I am very sure that you will be very disciplined in your life. And if you believe that you do not have that kind of a self-discipline, I would say don't use credit card. Only if you have that kind of a self-discipline on your personal financial affairs, then probably you can maximize the benefits out of these credit cards. Otherwise, it's better to not get into any kind of this kind of debt trap. Finally, I would always say, even though you are good at all this and manage your personal finances well and using your credit cards very appropriately, judiciously, be also careful that your credit card does not get into any kind of a fraudulent use or it doesn't get misused. In the credit card, you will obviously find the 16-digit number along with the expiry and the reverse of the card, CVV and all. In case it's get into wrong hands, it can be misused. If they get to know your PIN, all the more, definitely it can be misused. Yes, you might probably take precautionary measures by going in for card protection plan and all that. Make a note of your 16-digit credit card number somewhere safely so that in case you lose your credit card, you can call up the customer care number of the bank and report the loss of the credit card so that it will not get misused. Sometimes the person whom you might have given the card, even the merchant outlet might probably skim it off. So there are certain cases which has happened where they have skimmed the data out of the card. So be very careful to set appropriate control limits so that your cards do not get misused, and be very quick in reporting any misuse or fraudulent use of your credit card, because there are of course some safety measures that RBI has implemented with respect to two-factor verification. Not only in the PIN, there are also sometimes on online e-commerce purchases you put an OTP. Though all these measures are there, in some of the international sites they might not have these kind of a precautionary measures. So it is important that you are careful when you are using a credit card. I am very sure, though it could be a double-edged sword, you will use the finer edge of the sword to make life better for yourself. My best wishes for being a very disciplined person and get the maximum out of a credit card if at all you are using one. Take care. Good luck. See you. Jai Hind.